Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Sisi God podcast. Today we have a special guest here with us today, and her name is Jelena. She is a world champion boxer. She's indeed a Canadian, so shout out to Canadians. We are so happy to have her here today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, so what have you been up to, Jelena, like during COVID-19?
Well, I own a boxing studio, so we've been hosting some live Instagram workouts and then trying to transition and adapt to the world, the new normal that we live in. So I started doing some Zooms, and we actually just had our first outdoor class yesterday. So it was awesome. Yeah. So just kind of adapting. I think I was hosting about 3 Instagram workouts a week. I know you popped in on a couple, and just doing that mostly for the community and for people and mental health and mental and emotional strength during this very challenging time.
Yeah, I really don't think that people realize what, you're doing. I mean, to have a world champion, train you on Instagram live, and, giving us the knowledge and some shadow boxing and some techniques for us to, kind of forget what we're going through and keep us healthy. It's really great what you're doing, Yelena. Honestly, we are so lucky to have, champions like you.
Thank you. Yeah, I kind of wanted to offer it because I've kind of seen every rendition of boxing and boxing training, and I've been like, "Ooh, we need to get some proper work in." So
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to know, like, tell our audience about you in terms of, I know you're Canadian, I know you very well, but for the ladies who don't know who Yelena is, tell us a little bit about who you are in terms of, not only being a world champion, but your story a little bit.
So I am a 8-time world champion, current WBC, WBA featherweight world champion. I have been in 3 weight classes, 3 divisions, champion of 3 divisions. I started boxing kind of by mistake when I was 18 years old. I blew my ACL out playing basketball, and through my rehab and my recovery, my dad and I were watching some boxing on TV, and he kind of challenged me. So we kind of made this joke, and they were talking about how much money the men made, and I was like, "Oh, I'm like, Dad, one night of work, $1 million. Like, I don't know what we're doing wrong. Like, busting our butt off every day." And he made a joke, and he's like, "It's not. I bet you could do it." And so I kind of took it as a little personal challenge. I went down to a boxing gym and absolutely fell in, and then I was even more
Oops.
fortunate, fast forward 18 years, and start a career that incorporated my passion because, as you know, women aren't treated equally. So I didn't make that $1 million per fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I was fortunate enough to be able to be an entrepreneur and transition my passion and my sport into a career.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I didn't even know that you played basketball. I used to play basketball too. What position were you?
Well, I was a point guard and then transitioned into a shooting guard.
Oh, nice.
So,
You're really
yeah,
good.
U of A, so way back, I mean, many, many moons ago.
Yeah, me too. Many years ago, I was a small forward, but I love the sport. I love basketball. And let me tell you, I don't know why now I could see it that you play basketball. And I don't know, when I look at you, I've looked at your fights and I've watched them and I'm like, oh my God, Yelena can really fight. And I'm like, wow, like I can't believe she's fighting. She's a pretty girl. Like, how does she how does she have the courage to not she really like knocked these girls out. You really have heart in the ring. You're really strong and you're a beautiful girl. It's hard to see, you know, both that and honestly, you've touched on a great point in terms of boxing, women's boxing. I really feel like a lot of women, now we have so many beautiful, like so many champions, and women's boxing is growing, but not enough the way that it should be. And I really hope that we can shed a light in terms of women being, equality in terms of men's boxing and women's boxing, because we did live in a world where women and men weren't equal at a time and jobs, and we're still going through that struggle. And I hope that, we, in our era and our generation, women can be fairly treated, and, people can support the sport essentially when it comes to women's boxing.
Well, that's been a big struggle of mine. Like I started again, when I was 19. I think I had my first pro fight in 2003. So actually, female champions weren't even recognized by some of the organizations. So I hate saying the word, but I am like a pioneer of the sport, and I progressively keep trying to be a part of that movement. And, now we have a bunch of amazing women as world champions. I know Franchon is super amazing. She is a world champion with the WBC, but she's middleweight, I believe. I want to say middleweight. And a beautiful fighter. And a lot of those girls that are transitioning from the amateur sport, they were fortunate enough to be in the Olympics. Whereas when I started, people were barely, we were looked at as sideshows. I know in my hometown of Edmonton, people came because they were kind of interested, because they wanted to see the sideshow, these females fighting. And I was looked as a female fighter. Now I'm just a fighter. And so those are kind of the movements that I've been a part of, and that is part of my journey and kind of what I represent. And I'm very fortunate that I have the platform to be able to continue with that movement.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also we see even Clarissa Shields, she's
amazing. Clarissa's amazing. You have the true pioneers like Mia St. John and Chrissy Martin and those people, and we just keep passing the torch as we go. So I'm just hoping I'm part of one of those big TV shows soon. My fights are definitely exciting enough, so just waiting for that turn.
Absolutely, your fights are super exciting, and you bring it on into the ring. And one thing I discovered is myself, just boxing, in terms of boxing, I actually discovered that there's some women that are quite interesting. And I feel like women's boxing could definitely take over. We just need more support when it comes to the women's boxing. And as you said, you guys are fighters, not women boxers. And only, and it's really great what you're doing. I also really love that you teach in terms of you have your own boxing, you're an entrepreneur, and you're bringing back the knowledge. And imagine a champion. But do you think that maybe just in terms of being Canadian, it kind of, myself also being Canadian, I feel, and I've seen Adonis kind of go through that, Canada and the US, it's very different, so.
It's kind of one of those things. So my dad is Eastern European, he's Serbian, and my mom is French Irish. So I'm all kinds of atomic bomb, but that's cool. But it's funny because I said, we could have any other country in the world, if I would have been born in, I would have been a superstar of that country, whereas, and I know you went through this with Adonis, we're Canadians, we're very small town mentality, even though we're a big country. And so we definitely don't support our athletes unless you're the Toronto Raptors, or you're a tennis superstar. And unfortunately, even our tennis players, they didn't build their career in Canada. And unfortunately, I love Canada, don't get me wrong. I love living here, but unfortunately, because I am Canadian, we kind of fly under the radar, which is disappointing. I mean, I'm sure if I would have started my career in Mexico or the States, that we'd be having a way different conversation right now. But I guess that comes with quality of life and family and wanting to be at home. That's kind of the way we were raised. So up here, and it is too bad, but. Yeah. If I could rewind and go back, I'm not getting any younger, so it's kind of hard to just pick up and move now, but.
Yeah, no, you do look young, so I don't know, to be honest with you. I really can relate in terms of, I've seen Adonis going through that, being a world champion for 5 years and then being in Canada and just not enough getting that recognition as a Canadian fighter. And as you said, those things that you touched upon, not being only a tennis player, and people are supporting in Toronto just the Raptors. And it's like, there's other sports, and boxing is a really big sport. So I really hope that as Canadians, I know there's a lot of Canadian audiences, we can support our boxers because it's a really beautiful sport. It's a martial art, and you guys really put on a show. It's so fun. I mean, when I'm in the U.S., when I see the shows compared to Canada, I'm like, what's going on?
Well, that too, and even like I'm sure you experienced this with Adonis. Like we travel other places and we get more recognized than we do outside of our home country, which is ironic and crazy. Like, when we go to fights in Vegas, like I'll probably not a ton, and I'm kind of glad that I have that anonymous factor, but you still would like to be respected for what you do, especially because we put our bodies and I mean, you've experienced it way too much, but you put a lot on the line to do what we love to do.
Yeah.
So.
You've touched on some great points in terms of boxing, and I know you said that you wanted to eventually start a family, and also we've been accidents do happen in the ring, and I'm gonna test you and ask you a question that and I just wanted to say, in terms of boxing, do you think about the injuries and the risk of boxing, because essentially it's not a sport, but it is definitely, you're putting your life on the line, for what you love doing. Do you think about that sometimes when you have a family, how that can affect them?
I and I think we kind of briefly spoke on this, when we were in Mexico, because obviously your experiences is well, and I mean all of us, we go through it, and Adonis's experience kind of touched all of us, as we are. It's kind of funny because you fight with someone, but then you're also family, and when you're a part of that WBC family, you are united, and so that kind of touched all of us, and it makes you feel a little bit more human. I always joke with my sisters and my family that I'm like, oh, I'm like a superhero, like nothing can stop me, because that's the mentality you have as an athlete. I think, never mind just boxers, but as an athlete. And do I worry about it? Probably not as much as I should. But I also had that my coach is crazy, like, protective of me, and he makes sure that we do things the right way and we prepare the right way. And anything can happen at any time, but that's with life. You could get hit by a bus walking across the street. So I think you have to live your life for the moments that you have, and especially like even this, like COVID, right? Like you have to live your life to the fullest with the moments that we can control, and my dad and my mom and my sisters love it and hate it. I don't know if you've seen my documentary, but there's a great yeah, I have a documentary it's on TELUS. It's on networks. YouTube. No, YouTube. It's on YouTube. Sorry, but the TELUS network had it on their. They kind of funded it for a great little production company here that made this fabulous documentary on me, and it highlights what my family thinks through fights, and I had never really, I think, stopped to listen and to think about what they go through until that moment. And so selfishly, I think I just, you think you walk on water, but the worry and the stress that you put them under, and that kind of stuff, I never really started thinking about that until the last few years. But I think all of that worry goes away when I know I prepare properly and I work my butt off, and I'm turning 38 in a month. So, I know at 38, I challenge myself to be the hardest worker in the room, no matter what, because that is my job. That is what my world titles say I am. I am the best in the world at what I do. So I
Absolutely.
think I just kind of that takes away some of that worry, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gives me shivers, your response, because it reminds me of Adonis's response as well. He told me the same thing. I could get in an accident in a car or, just walking on the street, but I love doing this and I know. And I'm like, aren't you scared? I would always have that. And, we are definitely going to be on the lookout for your documentary on YouTube, as you say. I would love to watch that. And, for our viewers, I would, definitely recommend you guys to get to know Jelena. She's a great woman, and she has a great story. So we're definitely going to be on the lookout for that. And it
Yes,
just
it's called Jelena the film. That's all you have to search and it'll show up. So
Jelena the film on YouTube. And yeah, it just gives me shivers. It seems like the people who love you, who are around, like your family. I remember when I was walking in the I would walk in the ring with him, and I don't want to tell him like, are you nervous or anything? He's in that mindset. You guys are on that mindset. When he's walking in, I'm like, boom, 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 my heart. Like him, he's relaxed. He knows what he's got to do. It's his job. It's his work. But the amount of stress that I go through, it's like we're going to war today. It's just.
it's funny you say that because I didn't realize that until a couple of my teammates, like I trained with a couple guys and they were fighting and I felt so sick to my stomach. And I was like, I looked at Milan, like my coach, when we were walking in, and I said, how do you do this? He goes, now think about what I go through with you. He goes, because he's like my second dad. And he goes, think of how you feel right now and then times it by like 100. And that's how I feel every time you fight. Which is, he goes, every time I wonder if it's our last fight because I just want it to be, no, he goes, I want it to be our last fight because I don't want to feel like this anymore. He goes, but I know there's no point in asking you if you're ready because I can tell every time you fight, there's more passion, there's more hunger, there's more of everything. So, that's why he's like, I just want you to quit already. Like, please.
Honestly, that's how I felt sometimes. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's crazy because I had that same feeling. And shout out to your coach and shout out to all the trainers who train the fighters because they really, a lot of them really, they deserve that respect, and to keep the fighters safe every fight and to take care of them, to help them train and to be in that mindset. I have a lot of respect for them. Even Adonis's trainer was Sugar Hill, really great guy. I'm sure you know him. Very good guy. And, it's sad, sometimes it hurts a lot of the trainers, to see, their fighters going through that,
Well, think about how much time you spend with that person. Like, I tried to do the math on like how much time my trainer and I had spent together, and like it's astronomical how much time you spend together and how much you go through together. So the trainers definitely don't get enough credit, I think, sometimes. And then there's some trainers that get too much credit, if you ask me. But I was very fortunate to have one trainer my entire career who, like I said, I'm very, very lucky. I have a great support system. So.
Yeah, absolutely. One other question I would ask you is, have you gone through an obstacle that you've overcome that's been challenging that you can share maybe?
Oh, I've had I've had 52 fights. So I've had a lot of fights. And I think there wouldn't be just one obstacle that I've kind of overcome. And I mean, like I said, we spoke about this. I started when women's boxing wasn't really a thing. So we kind of fought everybody and anybody who was willing to fight at any time. So I've had about 10 losses. So I've had a lot of obstacles and things that I've had to overcome, adversity that I've had to change. I've had 3 knee surgeries, 2 after my ACL. So coming back from injury, coming back from losses, I've had just so many things. I've had 13 stitches in the top of this forehead. I've had 6 in my eyebrow. Like, I mean, you want to talk about challenges? I don't know. Maybe my biggest one, my first challenge, was my first loss. I lost. It was my 10th fight. I lost to Layla McCarter, another amazing professional fighter. We fought 3 times, 3 wars, out of Vegas. She was far more experienced than me. Um, I thought I was better than her, and I had a trainer. My coach brought in another guy to come help us hold pads, and every day he would tell me how good this girl was. She's from Vegas. She's dazzle, dazzle, this and that. And every day he used to tell me how good she was. And I go to my coach and I'm like, well, I'm like, this guy, like, he's telling me every day that I'm gonna lose. Like, I don't like him. He goes, you're just spoiled, which I was. I'm not gonna lie, I was spoiled. I was very spoiled by my coach, and I love that he spoiled me. But this time he's trying to teach me a lesson. Like, you got to learn that anybody can hold pads, and I'm not gonna always be able to be the number one guy for you. And I was like, well, why not? So anyway, we brought this guy into hold pads, and he was awful. Like, he just every day he used to tell me how good this girl was. So I went into the fight and I lost. Like, she was way better than me that night, and it was my first loss. You know, being a female. Here they're like, oh, the princess has now fallen. Was she just gifted every win she had? Like, is she really a true fighter, or did she just fight bums her career? And like, Edmonton's not a big city, but we're big enough that you read all this crap that people say about you, and you're like, how am I ever gonna, like, maybe they're right. Maybe I wasn't as good as I thought I was. Like, you tend to fight, like, you should know what you're doing. And so my coach pulled me aside and he goes, listen, you're right. I was wrong. And he's Eastern European too. We're both very stubborn, which is probably why we get along. And he goes, we're going to rematch her immediately. Or I think maybe we had one fight in between, but we're going to rematch her within 3 months. And we're going to win. He's like, I apologize. You were so right. You shouldn't have brought him in. We went. I can't remember now if we had a fight in between, but I went and I beat the crap out of her. She like broke her arm on my head, like, kind of thing. And he was like, and so that was like the first major obstacle I had to overcome was, and it wasn't even just the sport, it was the people around. And that was the biggest lesson that I learned in my life. And it was the most important lesson I learned in my career, because it showed me that, like, when you're on top, everybody wants to be around you. Everybody wants to be your friend. Everybody wants to invite you to everything. When you lose, then you're down. That's when people show their true colors. And for me, it was by far the most important lesson. And I was very lucky to learn it in I think I was 21 maybe. And I was fortunate enough to learn it that early, to keep my circle close, my friends close, and my family even tighter, and to not just let anybody into that circle, into that window. And so that was probably the first obstacle I had to overcome, but also the most important. And that's something that I would love, and I try and share and be a role model to a lot of young athletes, male or female, and young entrepreneurs that have become successful. Like, don't believe in the hype. Don't believe in what people are telling you. And don't let people hang around. Don't let people hang on. Keep it close, keep it tight, and be around the people that matter. And for me, that's number one rule, number one lesson.
Absolutely. Wow. We're definitely going to take that on. That was a some great advice here that you're giving our viewers. I want to say, let's just say a young girl wants to become a world champion. Like you, Jelena, she wants to work hard. She's doing amateur boxing and she wants to get up there. What would be your advice to her?
Keep your head down. Keep being the hardest worker in that room, hardest worker in the gym. And don't let people tell you you can't. One of the big things, and I said it, actually didn't realize I said this all the time, but I said it in my documentary, and it was one of my favorite phrases I said. Write your own story, write your own ending. Don't let anybody write it for you. Believe in you and believe in your story. Like, you are the only person that can control your fate. a lot of obstacles, a lot of doors and windows being closed, but you have to believe in yourself that it happens for a reason and it's going to make you stronger as long as you keep on that path, keep on that journey. Um, I know, you've had a lot of struggles yourself, and even though it seems super shitty at the time and super super tough, at the end of the day, getting through that journey is what makes it all worthwhile, and it makes the path worth it, kind of in the long run. So
Absolutely, and people don't realize how strong we can be, in terms of, you don't realize after, sometimes, you think, oh my God, it's just it's the end, and, it's difficult, and later on you look back and you sort of, say, wow, I went through that and I was able to overcome that. You realize how strong you are, and I know that, just being around boxers and world champions and, people, who've succeeded in the boxing world, that discipline is a big factor as well, and consistency. And, the boxing world is not that easy. You really have to prove yourself.
not kind either. So, like, I think, but that's anything. I think that's anything where there's levels of things. And, when it comes, the work, that journey, climbing to that top is incredible sometimes. And I think just in boxing, we have to show it. You have to wear it on your shoulders and wear it on your back, and grind and hustle, and you're kind of in the spotlight. There's no team to hide behind. Like, I don't get to take a timeout whenever I feel tired. Like,
And
so.
it's you that's in the ring. Imagine, like, you're the one that's like in the ring. Okay, you have your trainer and your people in your corner, but it's like ultimately you. And it's like at a certain point you're getting hit and you're sitting back out, and to get back in there is so incredible. The courage that you guys have, honestly, it's so inspiring. It's inspiring to see that, that courage. But I would say, what's next for Jelena? What's next for you? Do you have any projects, future projects, things that you want to do? I mean, you're an 8-time champion, world champion. What's the next chapter? We want to know.
Well, I'm kind of starting the transition because, as you know, an athlete is never, it's hard to, when you're done. I always say this, and I don't know if you had to experience this with Adonis, but after every fight, I have like post-fight depression, I always called it. That's what I called it. And it's like, because you have this journey, you have this path, you have this goal, and everything revolves, we're very selfish. Like, everything revolves around us and this goal. And nothing else matters. Everything is sacrificed to get to this end spot. So we're very selfish. I will admit it. And so once you get to that end goal and you achieve your goal, then you have this depression because you're like, okay, well, what now? Like, I mean, I can go on a vacation, and then after the vacation, then what? Right? Like, you always go through this, like, well, now I'm sad. Now I have no goals. I have no ambition. Why am I even bothering to get up? Like, you kind of like, so, as I've hit 50 fights and as I've gotten a little bit more, I realized I need to start the transition early into the next phase of life. So I've opened, I'm actually sitting in it right now because I taught a class before on Zoom, but I'm sitting in my boxing studio. So I had this idea of bringing kind of my passion to the general public. So I know when I started boxing, it was super intimidating to just go to a gym, a boxing gym, and I had to build up the courage and challenge myself to go. And so I basically built this studio that it's like boxing kind of nightclub feel, like it's in the dark, and you've seen in the dark room on the Instagram, and when we do it in class, the lights are a little bit dimmer and we box to the beat kind of thing. So it's really like nightclubs meets a workout, like spin bikes meets boxing bags kind of thing.
I love it. Honestly, I can't wait to visit your gym.
Yeah, so that's kind of the first phase of my transition and my next chapter. And pre-COVID, I was opening my second location in Edmonton, and then my goal was to hope to open in other cities in Canada. So that's number one, and then number two, I still want to keep fighting. I think I have a couple more years left in me. Yeah, I still want to keep fighting. So I know I just started training a couple weeks ago just to get ready to. I mean, 38 years old, you got to keep the body moving, right? So, but I definitely want to have a couple more fights for sure.
Wow, so you're still in the game. You're still ready to fight. Do you have any fights coming up soon or nothing in the
No. So, we kind of had a hiccup, a little roadblock. Again, everything on the journey is challenging, it seems like, especially lately. And my trainer actually had a heart attack and in February, so we were getting ready to sign something. We were in the process, and then that happened, and then COVID happened. So I mean, right now we're kind of waiting and looking. Hopefully, we get something when the world opens up again, or when the world kind of opens up again. Um, I definitely want to keep fighting. So it's sooner rather than later for me, I hope.
Well, I hope your trainer is doing well. We hope him. I hope he's doing better, and we hope nothing but the best for him in terms of his health.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, don't you find it? I know Adonis used to find it annoying, and I know every fighter finds it annoying. You just finish a fight, and people ask you, "When are you fighting again?" When
Like immediately.
immediately tomorrow.
My answer was always like, right now? I don't know. Do you want to fight right now? No. Um, yeah, that's always a question that happens like immediately. For me, I love fighting, so I always say hopefully soon is my answer. But
But
yeah.
do you have anybody in mind that you really want to fight, or you're just ready to take on anybody right now?
Well, I mean, for me now, like 52 fights and 2 world titles, I definitely want to unify my division. And I want big fights. Something it has to mean something for me to kind of get up for the fight and get that training. So, um, there's a couple girls that I've been eyeing down for a while, but we just got to make it make sense, I guess.
Yeah, I know. I understand the business. Of course, they gotta make sense for the champ always.
Right? I'm like, I fought for free enough in my life, not anymore.
No, you've made your name, and at the end of the day, they gotta come to you. So you have to put some respect. So we're gonna play a little game. I'm gonna ask you a few questions, okay?
Okay.
So it's would you rather? Would
Uh-oh.
you rather be feared or loved by all?
Uh, so this is a funny question. I'm not going to clarify all of them. I used to want to be loved by all. I used to. And I spent a lot of my life, I think, a lot of wasted time trying to get everybody to like me. Um, Not that I'm not likable, but I used to waste a lot of time. So I think that this answer, as I've grown, has changed. So feared, maybe.
Wow, I love how you answered that. I wish I could get to that. I actually feel like I still am in the phase of I want to be loved by all, but it's definitely a great transition.
You know what? It was the not caring what people thought was I felt so free after I got rid of that. It was probably, again, through one of my boxing losses, learned that lesson. And one of I think the most gratifying lesson I learned, I think. Yeah.
So,
So, okay, next question. I won't clarify all of them, but that one I felt like I had to.
rather never get angry or never be envious.
Never be envious. I don't think I'm envious of people. I
Yeah.
love where I'm at. Yeah. Never be envious.
Okay, this is good. Would you rather work very hard at a rewarding job or hardly have to work at a job that isn't rewarding?
I would rather work hard.
Yeah,
Always.
you can tell. And the last one, would you rather be famous when you're alive or forgotten when you die? No, and forgotten when you die, or unknown when you are alive, but famous after you die.
You know what? This actually, I think this answer changed too, as I have some friends that are better actors, and going out with them is very difficult. So I think I would rather be famous when I die. I would love the rewards of being famous when I was alive, but going through experiences with them, I think I'd be rather be famous when I die.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to hold a legacy
Yeah.
and be a legend. Well, I want to say thank you so much, Jelena, for taking the time to, come to the CC God podcast and to give us to give us your advice on business. And we're definitely going to be on the lookout for your YouTube documentary. I also want to advise everyone to follow Jelena Boxing on Instagram. She also has Instagram for her studio, so for lessons in terms of boxing, and it will be very beneficial right now. It's, take advantage of the free time that you're getting from the champ on her Instagram live. It's called Champions, right?
Champs Boxing Studio.
Champs Boxing Studio on Instagram.
Yeah.
Are you on all media platforms? Go ahead, sorry.
Champs Boxing YEG, I think, is our Instagram.
Champs Boxing YEG, right?
Yeah.
And then also we're gonna definitely follow your journey. Everybody follow Jelena Boxing. And I want to thank you so much. We're gonna be on the lookout for your fights. I wish you nothing but the best of success, and we're gonna support you, girl. I know we got a lot of Canadians in here. You guys better support our people. We don't have a lot of champions here, so we're fortunate to have you, and we're definitely gonna support. You have my support. It's all love, and thank you so much once again.
It's so good to see you, and you look amazing. So thank you for having me on.
I'm in a good place, so thank you so much. I love you. So we'll see each other soon, hopefully.
Hopefully. Hopefully the world goes back to the new normal.
Thank you so much for watching. I'll be posting a video every week. Just subscribe in the button below and you will see a little bell and it will notify you whenever I have a new episode up. Make sure to also comment and like below in the column. I would love to hear your opinions and any guests you would want me to have on my show. Thank you so much and have a great day. Love you guys.